Let me get back to being parliamentarian. We have a motion made by Mr. Nash to grant your request pending review of legal with insurance and inspection by the county building inspector to make sure it's fit. Is there a second to Mr. Nash's motion? Ms. Thompson is second that motion. Any discussion? And of course, the date would be set in coming.
Right.
Pending those things, a date would be set.
Right.
You're looking at August or September, obviously.
But they want to get August if they
Okay,
could
all
on the
right.
very first,
We'll be
early in
meeting
the month,
between
the
now and
more
then.
money there's available.
We will meet between now and then. Any further discussion? I'll ask for, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Motion carries 6-1 with one dissent. All right. That took care of unfinished business number 2 and 3. Getting back to your agenda, we have the fire chief's report. I don't see Chief Tomer. There is a letter in your packet from the crew mayor. And by the way, volunteers, thank y'all again. Y'all have been warriors over there. It's dramatic when you see it in person. Doing a lot for the town.
And the letter's real. I don't know if you watched it on YouTube when Val addressed their council night. Crew is starting to suffer the same effects that Burke's having.
Yes, you have a letter in your packet from the crew mayor. They basically got, I'm not gonna say blindsided, they basically were presented facts from the crew fire chief who said, folks, we're running out of money. And I didn't realize crew firemen have been basically buying trucks and buying for.
They crew
You
it.
guys, I just can't say enough nice about the town of Blackstone for the fire department. The town of Crew has never paid a penny of insurance.
I was shocked.
Gas, building, truck expense, nothing. They pay nothing for the Crew Fire Department, not a penny, and has never paid a penny of their expenses of any type. They built that fire station on their own, they buy all the trucks on their own, they do it all on their own. They're a hell of a fire department in Crew to be able to do this, but they're running out of money.
They're running out of money and resources, so just for the audience benefit, Greg Eanes, the mayor of Crew, has written a letter to me, and basically he wants a meeting of the mayors, the town managers, the fire chiefs, the fire department treasurers, and maybe 1 or 2 supervisors to discuss his proposal. And his proposal basically is having a countywide fire department where the current chiefs will still be chief of the department. He's talking about a tax levy, which Deon Tomer, our chief, had recommended as well. I've heard some firefighters speak favorably of that. There's a question about would it all go into one pot or be divided among fire?
I agree with the entire letter presented, except for the fact of the county levy, because I'm sorry, our county receives enough revenue right now as it is to fund emergency services, and I don't think our citizens of Blackstone should have to take the burden of a higher tax because of the county.
And a paid fire, and having some funding for a minimal presence of paid firefighters at the 3 stations. So I guess my question to the council, you've got the letter in your packet. I don't think would y'all be okay with me to tell Mayor Eanes, yes, the town manager and I would like to attend that meeting, and perhaps
I think you
I'd
should.
even throw in the fire and water chairman, Colonel Tom.
I think you should because of the hardship that they are starting to face. It's going to put a harder ship on us
Right.
because we'll be going up there to help them,
Right, mutual
which
aid.
we should be.
And we see it here in
Take time
Blackstone
calls sometimes.
with the issue of account and finance of how do we fund a ladder truck that's 1.5 million now? How do you fund a new engine that's going to be $750,000, $800,000 that 5 years ago was $550,000? But we're fortunate enough to be able to have some funds from electric and all that, but that runs out eventually unless we have to go to our citizens and ask for more. That's why I think our county receives enough money as it is
They do.
that we don't have to tax our citizens more. We're already being taxed 2 times in Blackstone by the town and the county.
Yep.
So let our funds be used for something that we can see finally in Blackstone.
And although, in a way, we had a citizen in the meeting here last month who asked the question, he said, what's burning? You may recall that I said, and Jimmy Falwell said this 25 years ago, that fire prevention and fire construction, fire safety has gotten so good, knock on wood, that the EMS is the shifting burden. But whether it's EMS or a fire call, it doesn't matter. You've got to have volunteers to answer it. And increasingly, in the western end of the county especially, it's getting harder to get those volunteers to arrive in time. The squad's doing squad might be the best it's been in a long time with that billing. But they're starting to, their volunteers are dropping off big time.
And if anyone saw the presentation that the fire department of Blackstone put on this week, it makes you proud to be a member of Blackstone. And I think because of the way our department is run
Yep.
with our officers, that it's a reason that we have good members.
So if y'all, with no objection, I'm gonna reply to Mayor Eanes that myself, the town manager, our fire chief and our fire water committee chair would like to attend a meeting as soon as they wanna set it up. And we'll just listen. Because we are blessed right now. We have resources and we have 60 volunteers. But it could be us tomorrow if we're not careful. All right, moving right along, you have your bills, and the clerk, to accommodate some of you, has changed the order in the packet. Your first batch of bills to be approved, $826,859.54.
To approve.
Second.
Mr. Nash has moved, Ms. Jones is second to approve as presented. Any questions?
One question, Ender pothole patching?
That was something we tried on Dinwiddie Avenue, and it seemed to work pretty well. If you remember, we had,
You remember that?
put slurry seal on Dinwiddie Avenue, and it peeled horrible. There's other places like Church Street, but that was a really bad one. In fact, I think we may have gotten some comments that, when you're on 50 potholes, well, really potholes, they were very thin, really it was just a flaking of that one layer of slurry seal. Got a hold of this guy through VDOT, and gave him a call, and he came down and patched. If you notice Dinwiddie Avenue, it's been holding pretty well.
It has been.
endpotholesnow.com, believe it or not. And I think you had sent me an email about the potholes, and I said, we're gonna try a different product. This is the first time we used them, and I'm pretty pleased. And it wasn't
How
expensive.
long of a strip did that, I mean, that $1,800 is,
Is that all Dinwiddie Avenue?
Not much.
That was just the area near the Old Minute Market, wasn't it? Was
He
it?
did Dinwiddie Avenue, but he was here all day.
That was a long stretch. I mean, Dinwiddie Avenue,
It was from Maine to the town corporate area.
that's money well spent, $1,800, because the big trucks have torn up the streets. One thing we didn't see coming with Fast C, we were all gracious. And I can tell you the really bad spot, it looks like we've had an earthquake or a volcano that's melted the lava, the pavement at Brown and Nottaway.
Slurry seal again.
I mean, it's like, did we have an earthquake or what happened? I mean, what can we do without that?
the beautification committee can take it.
I don't know a solution for it. We've been doing the Poor Man's paving for
Right.
5 or 6 years. What we've been trying to do is use slurry seal just to seal the roads, and so we don't have to repave them or mill them and repave.
Right.
It's come back to haunt a little bit, and that is slurry seal at that intersection. If you notice, Brown Street's got some flaking.
It's the friction, it's where to stop it, that's what really eats your pavement. I wonder if it's a cement block like Westminster Road, is that a place to have a cement apron maybe?
Could be.
You know, I know it's more expensive,
I
but
think if we were to mill it out and put asphalt down, it would do fine. It would hold. I think that would be the
But if it
solution.
doesn't, we can look into concrete.
So,
All right.
check out the price. The slurry seal is, the guys are great, they respond, they're very diligent, but the product is not intended for a long term, and so I gotta go back and enter potholesnow.com.
Lunenburg and Fourth, when you're coming from Church Street,
It's a horrible
we've all learned to go, ride in the yard when you're coming to the stop sign, because if you go left, you get all the bumps, that's
It's
it.
been there forever.
It has.
Richard Keller and them asking me about it, and the town had smeared asphalt. We've patched it at least once or twice since I've been here.
Correct.
And I don't know if that's as a result of where the sewer line went in. Maybe there's some back and pack. Maybe we need to dig it out deeper.
Yeah.
But I know it's been patched literally twice.
Several
since I've been
times.
here.
Anyway, maybe they can do some more work here in town, because that's $1,800 for Dinwiddie Avenue, pretty doggone good. I was pretty impressed.
Our expectations that so you know, on paving, on Wednesday, we're gonna have a paving crew available. They're paving Ben's parking lot tomorrow, and so he's gonna have his equipment in town. And he asked if we've got anything Lanco paving. We already have a
Ben's expense,
contract.
clarify that.
Huh?
At Ben's expense, clarify that.
He's paying for his parking lot, but we're gonna be working on 4th Street between Lunenburg and Brunswick,
Okay.
if that's correct. Maple Lane, and tying in the curb and gutter.
Curb and gutter areas.
Intersection of 4th and Main, and that should be a day's work, so he gave me one day, and so if you see crews about, that's what we're doing.
And Lanco is a company that we took money from them for the Benny Winslow Pothole Relief Act.
$70.
Okay, all right. All right, we have a motion made and second to pay those bills. I'll ask for a roll call vote, starting with Ms. Jones.
All right.
Aye. Aye.
The motion carries 7-0. And your second batch of bills total $424,516.38. They're broken down by department. They include meter deposit returns and wastewater treatment plant and all kinds of goodies, medical center. What's your pleasure?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion been made and second to approve those bills. Any questions about any of the various?
You had already mentioned it, but we have 2 bills in here for Lanco paving, probably $80,000. And you did deduct, obviously, $70 from Ben Winslow.
They're on our annual contract.
Correct.
We need to deal with them. The bills are high this month, but I also keep in mind, if you look at the airport, we've done several repair projects on the fuel tanks and the fuel system out there, which were reimbursed with airport funds that we have in place, but, yeah, Lanco's our guy. That, and a $71,000 invoice is actually work that was done back in the spring on South Main Street, primarily where we did the 2 lanes. Very temporary.
Yeah.
We're just getting through until we start this next big project.
And then under Water Sewer Department, Railroad Management Company, sewer pipe lease.
Yeah, we have a sewer line underneath, we have utility lines that bore underneath the railroad, and we lease the easement from them. So that's an annual easement cost for underground utilities.
All right. Any other discussion, questions? Catch back up on our time pace. We'll ask for a roll call vote, starting with Ms. Jones.
Aye.
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 Motion carries 7-0. Moving along, you have your committee reports. Our first committee is the Buildings and Property with 2 recommendations. One of them is really, really neat. Ms. Hasbrook.
Yes, in your packet, we did talk about having the street banners. We're going to have more information, more,
Banners?
the banners.
Yeah, the newest information is behind there.
Okay. There we go. And that's right, it was going to be, let me get back to that.
Hometown Heroes.
They did say that the brackets that we currently have can
Will
be used
fit
with the
that,
banner.
right.
Be $100 per banner, no matter what, whether
Yeah,
it's
it's not whether
2
it's
of them or
already-
100 of them.
So if somebody says, I want my Uncle Tom Smith fought in World War
Cost
II,
$100 to.
so if I want to pay $100 for my uncle to be, and I can find a photo of him, he could be put, I guess we're looking at Veterans Day possibly?
$100 and they'll last for 3 years.
Love it.
$100 isn't bad for
Not bad at all.
those banners. I mean, they're personalized. I mean,
Got 5 people I can come up
Now,
with.
they did not say,
banners?
same
For
as
me?
what's on the poles.
The size. So they're
be the same, my understanding would be the same size.
I think it's the same size as the military banners. that
Military,
they
what we have
have.
currently. We just have the photograph of the soldier and data underneath.
And John Smith, World War II, or something like that. Does the council, do we want to just open it up to the public, or do we want to have specifications that they be from Nottaway County or the Blackstone Trade Area, you know?
Maybe let the committee come up with a series of parameters. I do think it's appropriate for parameters that,
Yeah.
Nottaway County, do they have to live in town, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Something.
How many military banners are there? About 50 or 40? No, it's 39, 38, somewhere in there. So if we take those banners down, we'd want to, you obviously want to get, you know, close to 40. So it's not, you don't have
Yeah, you want
gaps.
to do 1 or 2. You want to have
Right.
a minimum number, so when you put them up, you just don't have 1 or 2.
We had said during committee, at least to have 20 or so.
Yeah, so you can have it mixed.
To
Yeah,
have mix
20.
them in.
I agree, you won't have any problem. I don't think. What's council's pleasure? You want to go into this and have the town staff?
We should staff the town to start advertising and try to get,
Zach has offered his support, his help and assistance on the thing, and asked if the town would like for DBI to handle this as a.
I would love for it.
I think it'd be wonderful. What's the turnaround time? Like if we, when does Mosca Design have to have all the names and photos, I wonder? For us to get them by November 1st.
I think it said in the,
It said 3 weeks.
Looking for that
I
in
think
here.
it said a couple of weeks.
So we want to do it before late September. Be safe.
Turnaround time is 3 weeks until delivery.
All right, we'll move along with that. I think it's important that whatever criteria is out, we make sure that people in the community, what you don't want to have happen is a bunch of folks in the community, and as fate will have it, you'll have somebody that was the most decorated military family in the world not know about the banners and go, Uncle Jeb could have been on,
And get one next time.
yeah. So we want to be sure we get the word out, so. Okay, that sounds good. What else, Ms. Hasbrook?
Also, we had about the armory repairs, and we had some bills that the town staff had completed, and we had voted in the council that the armory group would pay for that, but we do have some funds that were in the town, about $3,000. And we discussed in committee that we recommend that those bills that were presented by Mr. Osborne be paid out of those funds.
And the way it reads in here, it says that there's an amount of funds to be, it almost makes it sound like the bills are almost $4,000, but that's not accurate, correct? It's few $100 or
$44, I think, is what we.
And I think it was for when town staff
performs work.
performed the
Performs.
work.
I move to allow the town funds to be used that are dedicated strictly for the armory for any work that the town performs in that building that is approved by this council.
If you could exclude that $10,000 donation, it's.
That's
considered-
brick and mortar.
It's
That's
up
about,
to- It's up to $3,997.
That is the
what
amount,
can be
yeah.
used.
that's the amount available. You're looking at probably 45, 50
Yeah,
bucks.
for
Okay.
for what's been approved.
Mr. Nash has moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Morgan has seconded. Any further discussion? It's less than $10,000. I'll ask for a voice vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Moving right along to the next committee, we have the Street and Light Committee.
Did Philip want to give an update real quick on Lake Country Internet?
Not really, but I will. It did.
What you informed me of?
It went pretty badly, and nonetheless, there was an exchange of unpleasantries.
I did not reply to his email because he mentioned litigation and
He came and got all the stuff off
Oh,
the town's
really?
property.
Okay.
He didn't
Yeah,
want to
that's
pay it.
fine. That's all I need to know.
that's probably it's good it ended the way it did when it did. It's unfortunate, but I think
It was for the best, and
I agree.
moving on.
Street and Light, there are numerous recommendations involving ditches. Mr. Miller. All right, Philip, you
Want to go?
All right.
All right, I think the number one issue before the committee right now is, on these private ditches, is, if you may recall, the town for years maintained ditches on private property here in town, and then at some point, and maybe the mayor remembers, the town decided that they would only work on private property if the property owner paid for the materials or the pipe. And I remember working for Larry for 5 years. You buy the pipe, we'll put it in. You buy the pipe, we'll put it in. And then I think that beginning, right about the time when I arrived with Mr. Wright, if you remember Mr. Wright down on Ridge Road, and Larry had worked out an arrangement where they were gonna do some work back there, on his property between there and Kinston Forest. I think you do remember that.
Remember vividly.
I think at
David
some
and Jennifer
point,
and I on the road wondering what to do.
I think at one point, or at or about that time, the town decided we're really gonna be
That is correct.
judicious about going on private property. We've got several private property requests, and I think the committee really would like to know the council's opinion on, do we wanna get back into having the property owners pay for the materials and the town install them?
One of the things my dad used to say, he said it was a great plan because the property owner was bearing some of the cost. You had the expertise of the town taking care of the ditch work and usually doing a good job and, protecting the streets, and it's kind of a win-win. Just so the council knows, the reason the council kind of retreated when we about went broke in 2011, it was basically anything we can not do, we decided not to do. But I think that pipe program was pretty doggone good. Just my personal opinion, but y'all may, have other opinions. What are your thoughts? Do you like it or not like it? Do you like the property owner
I
buying the
think if you
pipe?
go on private property, I think skin in the game is good.
Something to hang your hat on?
I do think it keeps frivolous requests. Ooh, I just want my pipe filled in. And maybe we're putting a lot of resources into something that may not be a health issue or a safety issue, a property damage issue. I think it does keep you from getting a lot of requests because they're gonna be hard to say no to as we move forward. And I think it'll winnow the wheat and the chaff a little bit by having people say, I'll make the payments. Now, I would recommend to council that we also offer to these property owners, because we're gonna be talking thousands of dollars, not everybody's got that laying around, some sort of an arrangement where they can make payments to the town, that we would either put a deed of trust on the property or a memorandum of lien against the property.
Don't like the idea with liens, we
And the
already
people would
an
have to
issue
pay
with
up front
liens.
before we
Well, I
install
don't
it.
mind if they pay over certain months or something.
But we've gotta secure it. We've
I
gotta
agree.
secure it. If somebody dies, you're the
lien's
bank,
key.
you know the deal. You've gotta have it secured somehow, and secured is a handshake, doesn't mean it'll ever get paid. Yeah, it needs to be recorded at the courthouse, quite frankly. If we're gonna take payments, just like we do with curb and gutter and sidewalk.
And this is a recommendation, the committee wants guidance from the full council, so here we are, folks. I mean,
If we go on private, go ahead.
Yeah.
Randy.
Well, and the majority that you see right here, you're talking big money. You're talking at least $30,000-$40,000 probably for each one that's down here. And a few of them are a little bit higher.
but if the property owner were to buy the pipe, that would reduce the town's cost some, right?
I think I looked at, not too long ago, 18-inch pipe on Amazon using HDPE. I think the pricing, it may be different or lower at Bevel, but on Amazon, I think you can get a 20-foot stick of 18-inch pipe for $500 now.
300.
There you go.
What were you gonna say, Colonel? You were gonna ask a point?
No, well, the total amount, like for some of them that were 40,000, that was to doing everything. That wasn't just for the pipe. So the amount would be far less for some of those items. But still, you're talking about a cost that's gonna have to be incurred by the property owner if we go that way.
So is it just pipe or is it material?
What we told folks for years is just a pipe. There may be a box involved or something like that, and that would be what the town provides. We would provide the concrete work or the box or the head wall. For years, the town just charged, we put in 120 feet of pipe, you got 120 times whatever it was, and that was the price you paid.
Okay, you know, we all went out there, right? Now, okay, say like, I know one job we talked about, it would probably be about $20,000 worth of pipe, give or take, right? Now, so, if the property owner decided to do this, you're talking big money, so I guess we would have to come up with another plan as to how.
It'll definitely keep you from doing a bunch of them. I mean, it's definitely, and the project may be legit. We looked at the one off Tavern Street, and I think the gentleman's actually here or was here in the back row that lived in the house. Yeah, it's going to be pricey. I mean, you think about it, you got 100 feet. You're talking 5 times 20. You're talking $1,800.
Yeah, but if the total
$1,500
project's $20,000 and you've only got just say $2,000 worth of pipe, the town has to come up with another $18,000.
A lot of labor there, labor and equipment costs, but
And you look at projects, I mean, we haven't gotten to it yet, but Main Street Phase 3.
Yes.
I mean, we're looking at a project of what, $1.6 million?
That's running sidewalk and curb and gutter.
we're gonna get some beat, I help them out though.
Yeah, but half.
Half.
Half. So you
Hopefully,
still got.
right. Well, let's keep it general. Does council like the idea of going back to the old policy of property owner, if he or she buys the pipe, the town at a reasonable time frame will install it? Does council wish to revert back to that policy which was on the books for years?
Does that mean that we automatically go on private property?
It doesn't mean you do it tomorrow, it just means that, okay, Sally Smith has decided to buy the $7,500 worth of pipe, and Andre and the guys will try to schedule it within the next 6 months. I mean, I think,
Like what we did at Eric's house?
That was in the town right away.
Right.
And I paid for the pipe, yes.
right.
So,
That's,
There was an example of
Yeah.
what we did. I didn't charge you for boxes,
No.
but he provided the pipe, and then we.
but again.
That was a lot of pipe.
That's on town right away.
How much pipe was it?
It's about $5,000 worth of pipe.
That's what I'm saying, so.
Yeah, Mr. Nash probably in hindsight could have probably not had to do that, based on what we just did on Sixth Street. Am I correct? I mean, I'm not trying to pick on anybody, but am I correct? I mean,
On town property, we do, I mean, we still will by policy.
Yeah. It's town.
Address, I think we did something on Second Street for the lady that lives across from the water
From
tank.
the
yes,
ice.
I
Betty.
think we went over to Luke Street not too long ago.
We went over on, what is that, over there where, over, what is it, F Street? We went over there and the people bought the pipe and paid for it. Yeah, we put a box, but we had to put a box in too.
Right.
Right.
And we put the boxes in because it's not always fair to say, well, you're on the end, so you gotta pay for the
but
retainer.
it does help your streets though, too. That's the thing about it, is while the town's making the investment, it does improve your town. It does improve in a lot of cases, doesn't it? I mean, I know my little Virginia Avenue is gonna be, they're gonna find all kinds of
Yeah,
stuff
and
one
I'm
day.
fine, I mean, that's a town right away though, so, I mean, that to me is a completely different issue than traversing through, say if you were to, at the end of Brunswick Avenue, looking straight into my property where the pipe doesn't go, no, the town should not go on that property.
Right.
And
Now-
it would improve my property, yeah, if it was completely piped in, I'd love it.
I'm not hearing a consensus on council tonight making a blanket statement on that policy. You wanna just,
It's just, the funds are just
Yeah.
gonna be tight,
Tight.
I mean,
And I do
Because
have a-
if we went out, we got 5 this month. And I guarantee you, when street and light go out next month, it's gonna be 5 more.
they gonna see you coming and flag you
So,
down.
know,
Where's Mr. Miller's committee?
we open up the can of worms. So now we gotta live with it.
But I can say, Terry, now, if you go knock on doors, and everybody wants to, we think we get downtown, Armory, all these big issues, if you meet one-on-one with people, and at any block, they say, come on, I wanna show you something, come back.
And it's
The
not
ditch
saying-
is the issue
and
in
it's not
this
saying
town.
their issues are menial to us.
No, no.
It's not, at all.
You're thinking macro. I mean,
Yeah.
macro is big picture. I mean, Let's table ditches, gosh, that's a broken record.
Now, there are a couple where there were recommendations that.
Yeah, to move to Third, let's move down the list of Third Street, High Street, Mr. Miller, let's move on down these lists. On Third Street, there's a recommendation for to camera the pipe and clean out the ditch, is that right?
Right.
The ditch runs parallel to Walter Mack's old house,
Yeah.
and that thing is a consistent headache. I think it didn't look too terribly bad, except for almost at the town right away. I think there was kind of a hump right there, and it was keeping the water backed up enough that it was backing up almost,
Is this on town right away?
not the main ditch,
Quick on it.
the water backing up would be.
Ditch was put in by the town years ago by Charlie Bevel. The pipe is too small, and when it rains, it backs up.
Yeah.
You got one of those issues, we got too small of a pipe in the front of the pipe.
That's the one where the water's standing up high, right?
Yeah,
then we
the
had to
pipe
go-
he's talking too small is the downstream that goes to Fourth Street, and we said we're gonna camera that and try to get B&B to tell
I
us.
don't have any, that's that.
I want us to renew our laser focus and stick with this agenda. The Third Street ditch, there is a recommendation to have the town crews camera the pipe and clean out the ditch. I entertain a motion to proceed with that.
So moved.
Ms. Hasbrook's moved, Ms. Jones has seconded. To grant that committee recommendation, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay, it's on private property.
All right, we have a 6-1 vote. Oh, tough guy Nash, I tell you, you
Sorry,
can't get one over, you can't get one over on Nash.
Whatever's on town right away, let's do it.
All right, High Street ditch, where is this ditch exactly, High
One
Street?
behind Sadie Trevette's house between the armory and her home, which just fronts on Dinwiddie.
Near the Armory.
And it's a daunting project. There's a lot of trees and a lot of stuff that would have to be done. I think the committee wanted to know, is it on town property or is it on private property? So I'm gonna get a rudimentary survey done, just to get Jeff and put some ribbons out. To us.
Could someone please let Ms. Trevette know what's taking place before it takes place? That'd be great. I entertain a motion to proceed with the survey with the with the provision that we notify Ms. Trevette.
So moved.
Mr. Nash has moved, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Miller has seconded.
It's town property, possibly.
All in favor, say aye. Nash with the play-by-play tonight, I love it. On Division Street, we're gonna get down to one here in a minute, I might have some issues, but, Division Street.
The one on Division Street is a big ditch. If you're familiar, it used to be full of bamboo. You really couldn't see it too terribly well at the intersection of
bamboozled.
Division and Main Street. I think council struggled with this one time before and said that they ultimately, I think the vote was to do it, and then I think council rescinded that. If I remember correctly, Mr. Monkier actually voted to go on private property. He did. But nonetheless, the adjoining church, the Apostolic Holiness Church, has approached me and asked that the town pipe in that portion of the ditch. And it's a big one. This is a lot of water that comes through here. At a minimum, the portion that's on their property, and that's probably another 20 feet to that point. But there's an open ditch next to that is owned by the Williams family. And I have spoken to the Williams, as John Williams and his wife Dolores, some time ago, and I think they were keenly interested in seeing that ditch filled in as well. It may even encroach a little bit on the gentleman that runs the small engine repair. He actually owns the back side of that ditch, Noggle. And that's a big boy, and there's a lot of concrete in there, and I don't know what that old structure was. It was a sewage pump station, was it a part of the water system? I don't know, but there's some pipe in the ditch as well.
This is the east side of Main Street, basically between Faith Apostolic Church and Noggle. And when you say continuing the sidewalks, are there,
There was a two-part request from the church.
okay,
That was one, doing the piping, and I think really doing the entire piping, if you do a portion of it, is important. But I think the town did pipe in the ditch behind the Apostolic Church some time ago. It's relatively new, black HDPE pipe.
Right.
And they indicated that the town had done it. And I don't remember being with the town when it was done, but it looks like our handiwork. The other request, which is a sidewalk extension, which I don't think is terribly controversial, they're asking that because there's sidewalk in front of the church now, they'd like sidewalk to be extended back to Division Street.
makes sense, okay.
Not a lot of right of way.
All right.
You may have to encroach a little bit on the Williams, as just to create more of a slope on the backside of the sidewalk, but they're asking if we could do the sidewalk.
I'd entertain a motion to approve that committee recommendation,
Just the sidewalk.
Just sidewalk.
the sidewalk. Mr. Nash has made that motion, is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Jones has seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries 7-0. Next is the 500 block of Second Street, which I believe is between Brunswick and College
It
Avenue.
is between Brunswick, it's the south side of Second Street. Right now, there, believe it or not, and you wouldn't notice it unless you look, there's a sidewalk down the side of that road, a very old sidewalk.
Usually covered in dirt and water.
It's just horrible. And we actually dug up portions of it when we put the sewer lines in 2013 and didn't replace them because they were so bad. What do we accomplish? And we just put gravel back. I think the sidewalk needs to come up. It's not a logical place for a sidewalk. I think sidewalk investments should be much more made like on 4th Street and 8th Street and Church Street and those kinds of places. But we have had some drainage problems. I think Joe Allman's son Jacob has purchased a home over there, and I think they're getting an appreciable amount of water off the street. Same ditch that's on 3rd Street, okay, same
Oh, really?
water coming through.
Huh.
And I think it comes from the Newcomb side of the road and then goes across. And my suggestion to the council would be, instead of us replacing that sidewalk, which I don't think is necessary, instead of us doing anything cost-wise with the sidewalk, I would recommend just put curb and gutter in
Makes
there,
much sense.
ditch the sidewalk, and just move on with it without charging the individual property owners.
Who would like to move to grant that request?
I'll move to do that with the stipulate. When do you, I mean, this is a lot of concrete we're talking so far. Do you need to do this in stages?
Oh, yeah.
Coming
We're
money-wise?
not right now to do it. It's gonna be
Okay.
when cash.
Several months, this will be spread out, I'm
Okay.
sure.
Be no leaves on the trees, probably.
Who would like to second Mr. Nash's motion?
I'll second.
Mr. Colonel Thomas, second that motion. All in favor, say aye. Opposed?
Did
That,
we,
7-0.
do we need to go back to the Division Street ditch? We did the sidewalk. but
Yeah, your motion covered only the sidewalk. Do you want to take up the piping separately on Division Street near the church?
Let's get a cost on that thing. I think it's gonna be pricey.
Okay.
It's gonna be expensive.
We'll proceed, let staff proceed with the
Get a
cost.
price on it, and so you guys know what you're taking on there.
All right, the next request, it reads 6th Street parking. And this is at the Blackstone Church of God across from Heritage Hall, but we're just talking about 6th Street, correct?
Correct. Or no. 6th and Academy on both sides of
Okay.
the road that, abut the church.
The recommendation is to allow that church to block off parking on 6th and Academy from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. only on Sundays. That means if the rest of the week, if you go by there, no matter what some sign may say, you as a member of the public can park wherever you want.
I think they're running into trouble on Sundays, and, the nursing home, that's a busy day for them, for visitors, and it stays crowded over there, and if anybody's had a family member at the nursing home.
Sunday's a busy day for visits.
Well, there's some residents right there that are starting to complain about the Heritage Hall parking.
Correct, but
It's a public
it's a
street.
public street.
It is.
And so thus we're making an exception by doing this, because I think they're really fighting for parking spaces out there on the street.
I love the church, I love the nursing home, and I love the neighbors, so what we're gonna do? And it's all, I mean, seriously, you're basically now, this is somewhat of an improvement because lately, I mean, there's signs out there that say handicapped church parking. Well, you're sitting there trying to go to Heritage Hall, I'm like, well, I don't wanna make the church mad at me. But then I also ask myself, what standing does that sign really have legally when it's a town street?
Council's designated it, and I don't have any.
Not that I know of, so,
Is there a reason for the 2 p.m. instead of, say, 12?
Cause see, they probably just started
The
this,
sign says 9 PM.
right, and see, I think they started their services at 11, so they wouldn't be over
Yeah, but
by then.
hopefully everybody's done parked by then, and
usually they're done by 12:30 or so, because I know from going to see my mom after church, a lot of their members will come out and visit the people at Heritage Hall. It's 12:30 or so, and then they may have lunches or whatever. Sometimes they go to 2. The question is going to be: someone can make the same argument. What about Heritage Hall? Shouldn't they have parking only Heritage Hall visitors? I mean, it's a public street. Are you going to go all or nothing? And that's the thing I worry about is the precedent being set.
The only thing I remember anything like this is, I'm not sure the denomination, but there's a church at Church Street. in
Blackstone Christian Church, the diagonal parking.
And the diagonal parking, I think some exception was made so that on Sundays, instead of it being parallel, they were able to gain appreciable number of spaces by it. And that street was wide, and that was part of the reason.
Widest street in
they're not
town.
asking for parking only for church members. If I wanted to go up there and park, I could park diagonally if I wanted to on
They're
Sunday.
asking for this to be restricted to church parking.
The recommendation is from the committee to allow them to block it off, but it's only 9 to 2 on Sundays. I mean, the rest of the week, if there's a sign up there, you don't have to, what's your pleasure? Members of council, what's your pleasure?
If they're gonna do this, I would like to see that all signs are removed and only temporary signs are posted each Sunday morning. Because like you said, it is confusing. I mean, I go to Heritage Hall every Friday to cut.
Yeah.
And you pull up and you don't have a clue. Do you park there?
And the nephew coming in from Richmond to visit Aunt Gertrude at Heritage Hall is like, whoa, I got nowhere to park. They don't know the history here. I mean, so, Mr. Nash, is that a motion to allow it, but,
I'll allow parking for church purposes, blocking off parking with temporary signs and removing the current signs that are there
every Sunday,
every Sunday from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m.
9 to 12 noon? Because chances are, yeah, that makes sense.
They're here already.
If you're there at 11 for the service,
They're already
you don't
there.
need to, right. Good point. Is there a second to Mr. Nash's motion?
I would like to say, I would like to say 1 o'clock.
Is that, you like to make it?
Fine.
I'd like to say 1
I
o'clock.
was thinking more on the line of one.
Okay, 9 to 1.
As long as they remove their current signs.
All right.
That makes it confusing.
You want to second
for
his
the whole
motion?
week.
I second.
All right, motion is to allow it on Sundays only 9 to 1 with temporary signage that's removed every Sunday at 1.
And the current signs are gone.
Put up at 9, yeah, and the current signs that are
Must go.
permanent must be removed for this to take effect. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Well done, council. Well done. Picket court parking. We're just really hot topic night tonight. Picket court parking.
I think, if you guys remember, we had B&B come up with some ideas, and I think, gosh, probably on that term when Mr. Hamner first came on the council, I think there was some discussion request. We come up with a $200,000+ cost estimate to move the curb and gutter on the inside loop in. If you remember, B&B had drawn up a.
That's on the left, the left hand.
That is one option, put new curbing on the left-hand side and allow for an additional space so that you would have more of a travel lane and then allow on-street parking on both sides. I think that wasn't palatable at the time. I think that, if you remember, we had a public hearing of some sort or had guests come, and I don't think the residents were crazy about that because it was gonna push
That much closer to their
parking and
residence.
everything 10 feet closer to their house. So I don't know of a perfect solution. And if the residents in Pickett Court, if they've spoken with Christine.
But didn't we discuss, though, you said the people on the left side have parking in the back?
They do have parking in the back. They have that alley that runs. Not everybody on the outside
Right.
has access to the rear of their property.
But we had an issue with the previous council is you can't make them park around back. They can technically park on the public street if they wanted to.
But
So-
you can
Not if it
post
says
the,
no parking.
yeah, you can post the inside.
Council can
Yeah.
post the
But then they'll
inside.
just park on the opposite side.
Well, the committee said, do you want to take this on tonight, or the committee's recommendation is to review at the next committee
No
meeting?
parking on one side of the street is what we discussed.
Yeah, that's what we discussed.
Parking only on the
Only
outside,
on one side
on
of the
the
street.
outside.
on the right side.
Yes.
That way your fire truck can get there through their ambulance. And if you're gonna make that the rule, just make sure you guys start ticketing
I don't
people.
know about a fire truck.
Right.
There is no way you would get engine 5 with a ladder truck down there.
Big cars on both sides. You could even.
Well, you can't get nothing down there with
Shit,
their
I
parking
can't
on
make
both
it hard to
sides.
get my
It's close
truck
on
through there.
on a car when you're driving through there.
If I'm driving my truck through there, I can hardly get through there.
But you, at least the ambulance is more important. Ambulance is, well, they're both
But I
important,
think,
but
I think you may make those that are okay, well, you're gonna have unhappy residents on both sides then, because you're gonna have people that are on the outside loop saying, man, now the parking is taken in front of my house. and I
If you,
can't even
if
park
you
in
do
front of my own
that,
house."
the police department will get calls every day.
All the time.
All night long.
It's one of those that is never perfect, and you look back at whatever the subdivision plat that was recorded way back when, you're like, "Ah, I wish they could have thought
when
about
those
this."
homes were built, most couples didn't have but one car if they had a car.
Yeah.
Now, every two people that live in a house, they got 2.5 cars, it seems like. If you ride around Blackstone.
Keep in mind,
24-foot long.
one thing for sure, we have enough right of way. There's a 50-foot right of way. It's just the paved portion is compressed. It's just,
You're talking about narrowing people's yards, basically.
Yeah.
it would be on town property, but it would be closer to their house.
Well, I can tell you safely say that this issue is probably entering a decade of being discussed. A decade. A decade. And I see town staffers getting weary, me too. But it's one of those issues that what do you want to do? You want to be decisive tonight? You want to just say, look, we're going to do it?
I think you need to talk to the residents. I don't know if it's, Christine's probably
All right,
hearing
Ward B,
this literally for the first time, and maybe a little more.
Well, how
Okay,
about
true.
how about
Get out-
a
get
public,
out and start talking to the people.
Yep, I certainly would defer to Ward B.
The
and
biggest,
get-
if parking stayed status quo, the fire trucks can go through the alley if utilities removed. But the problem is that's Southside Electric
That's
through
an
there.
electric pole.
So
At nighttime, the thing you fear is a nighttime tragedy when people aren't awake and if it's 6 o'clock in the evening, people see the smoke and they'll
They're gonna
react.
move and-
But a midnight fire, a 2 a.m. fire where people are asleep, then it's a horrifying thought. young children in that neighborhood.
It's no good remedy to the whole situation. It's not easy.
All right, we'll let the Ward B rep, and we'll talk it among ourselves as well, and let people know we're gonna take some action soon. We've got to be decisive. And last, Dinwiddie Avenue sidewalks to,
No recommendation. I would just like to envision perhaps in the future, some kind of an improvement to widen the sidewalks, extend sidewalks, and make it a little bit more of a more attractive entrance into town.
another gateway.
To get a test seat. There also was we visited Tavern Street. To be honest to tell you, I don't remember what the result was or what the recommendation was on Tavern and Dillard.
We agreed to go, didn't we?
You may remember.
I thought the last council meeting, we decided to,
No, that was the private properties.
No,
So we were waiting for council to decide if they want to pay.
Alright. There's another ditch request, if you remember, behind the roads.
No.
And, at the intersection of Dillard Street and Tavern Street, and it would extend about halfway down the block, and would go under the street now where we currently have a culvert, and we'll be building a box when we do the curb.
I think it was 3 or 4 properties,
is this included in the East End project, or is this something separate?
This is something separate from the
but it was on private property, so that's why we wanted to see what council wanted to do about.
The pipes.
And we don't have an answer, so we'll continue to work on it.
All right.
Find a solution.
The Fire and Water Committee meeting did not meet, was not held. There's nothing on the consent agenda. Under unfinished business, there is we have a review of the Players Vape Shop at the shopping center, been very busy. And I think this council is gonna see a request for another vape shop, at the old medical center building in coming weeks.
See another one at Walmart.
Yep. And right now, just in case you're wondering, our town is zoned for those type businesses are considered the adult or the specialty business zone at the
Not
shop.
the vape portion of it, that's legal as a read,
It's the gambling aspect.
it's the
Gaming.
Right,
computer-based gaming.
right.
Well, I got a question, and I've asked this question 500 times.
And the chief and I have met with the Commonwealth's attorney,
Legal.
and she did not provide us with a definitive answer, nor did she want to give us a definitive answer. She's very helpful. But I think that there's been a lot of controversy, and Mr. Miller's question is, how about these ones that are standalone sitting in Kangaroo and in the Race Inn? How come we're regulating, but those, it looks like a Pac-Man machine. There's 2 or 3 of them.
And they got 2 of them, and they have 2 of them in each stores. But we on these people about their machine.
They're slipping in. They probably not, under our zoning ordinance, they're probably,
Well, those are standalone and they are not on a computer. Those are standalone gaming machines. The gentleman that owns them swears they're legal. I just don't know the correct answer. We've met with, and she didn't provide us with enough detail, I think, of what we need to do. I think we just need to have Tessie to advise us on it. And
Well, I think we should push that forward pretty quick because it's not fair for us to scrutinize this Players Vape, and like I said, there's
they're
another
a
one.
different type of thing.
I agree, but
But
it's the same,
It's the same effect.
it's the same effect, same exact thing.
You
Our
spending money.
zoning only allows it in the specialized business district, which are the 2 shopping centers. And if they're in all these other locations, shouldn't be there.
Then maybe we need to come up with an ordinance and bring it back to
We
you,
do,
stating
so-
that they must be located within.
Let's look into that pretty
specialized
quick.
business district.
And see,
And make sure it's legal for us to do that.
correct.
but the issue before you right now is a 6-month review. It was scheduled. Players Vape is operating under a conditional use permit, and I guess we have Sergeant Mayton here. I've heard of no mischief or public disturbances at the place.
We had no issues there.
Have you being there every day had any problems?
You want to extend it for another 6 months with the same conditions that they're operating on? Did Mr. Short have another, he wanted to stay open later, didn't he? But he's not here tonight. I thought the last time he was here, we gave it initially like a 2-month or 3-month review.
As needed.
I'd have to speak to Mr. Short. I don't,
Okay.
I don't remember.
I would suggest, and I'd be willing to make the motion, that we remove the limitation of 6-month review, year review, and if the police have any issues, then it will be brought to us.
Okay, so continue, he still operates on a conditional use permit,
Correct, yeah.
but just, it goes on until.
Yeah, he doesn't need
Until
to
he
have
got, until
reviews.
something happens.
He's
And-
proved himself, we don't need to.
Only thing I would caution you is remember Clay's retirement village, we went to Clay's assisted living, we went 6 months, then went 2 years, and then we had all those complaints last year. I just caution you a little,
We can still come, I mean,
We
it's,
still,
Well, the
It's not
difference
safe.
is, there've been no complaints there.
yeah.
right,
correct,
right.
that's correct.
None.
Other than Food Line folks run out of cash.
So if there are issues brought forward, then we'll. look
Okay,
at it.
Mr. Nash has moved to approve, Yes?
How about his time? Because I know they was talking about extending the time to about like what,
He wanted to go later.
yeah. I think
He wanted to go to 1 o'clock.
One
That
or
was
2
initial.
o'clock.
And he
1 or
can
2
come
o'clock.
back at any
he can come
time.
back, but if he's not here requesting it, I think we should stay status quo.
Mr. Nash's motion is to continue the permit and to remove the 6-month review. It's a conditional use permit under the same terms till further notice, till we receive complaints. Will not be revisited until Mr. Short wants to revisit or the public wants us to revisit. Is there a second to Mr. Nash's motion?
Modifying those conditions would require a public hearing, so
Right.
we can't do that tonight anyhow.
Right. You want to second that motion? Ms. Jones is second Mr. Nash's motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Business plan for the Armory. I should have done this earlier, y'all. I'm sorry, but anyway, we've got a quote for $5,000, or what is it?
It's $7,500, however, they're offering a grant of $2,500, and the net cost would be $5,000. And it would include the financing plan, it would include the business plan. I think they'll be using a lot of the documentation from the 16 and the 18 reports. One of the items, so you know, the 2016 report had different prices. The 2018 report, which focuses more on a gymnasium and those kinds of things, had a lower price of $2.7 million. And that's the figure that we provided to VML VACO after talking with members of the committee and council. We gave them the lower figure, which was $2.7 million. And that would be the basis from which they would work.
This will be another study. Now, let me just ask y'all this, and I may have hinted at this last time. Whatever your position is on Armory, yay, nay, or undecided, do we need to pay some more consultants to come in here and say, Blackstone is a historic town located between Farmville and South Hill with a vibrant downtown? That's what you're gonna pay?
I want somebody to come to us and say a non-biased opinion, so that way it's not seen as one party or one side has another up on somebody. I want someone to come say, this is what it's gonna cost if you take this grant and this grant and this grant. It's gonna still cost you this many taxpayers, or this is what it's not gonna cost.
Just an opinion.
So that's what we need to hear.
Okay.
I think he's right. If we're gonna keep this thing going, I think it's better to.
Okay, you want to move, the request is from VML VACO. You called several people. They need to
I called our current financial advisor at Davenport. They were willing to do the financial side, but he said, we don't really do business plan stuff. That's not us. Sherry McGuire, who is the executive director of the Small Business Development Center at Longwood, also said she would assist, but did not want to take on the project. And then VML VACO, we do business with them now for obvious
Okay.
reasons.
You want to move, Mr. Nash, to take their offer up at $5,000 to develop the business and financing plan for the Armory?
Up to 5,000.
Up to $5,000?
So moved.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Thompson is second. Any further discussion?
Money coming from the council discretionary fund.
Okay.
Doesn't come from Armory or whoever.
Okay. This is something we discussed, as far as getting further grasp on whether the council wants to move.
This will,
And does council agree, just in spirit, does council agree that you would like to resolve the Armory question by Labor Day?
I'd like to know if we're going to apply for some grants, because we need to get started.
Okay.
If we're going to do it, we need to,
All right.
because those things are due in February.
How soon can they do this?
We were hoping by Labor Day.
And I don't want to rush them, because I want it thorough. I don't want it just.
We're 6 weeks away from Labor Day.
We'll shoot for Labor Day. If not, then I'll let you know it'll be 1st October or whatever.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? My last question, at the recent meeting, Colonel Tom identified, and Walter Mack identified, a tobacco commission grant that the town would be eligible for up to, I think, $800-some-thousand, which,
I think that's the money the county's holding. That's the
allocation.
for the
That's the
county.
allocation.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with making a request to the county.
I'm gonna get leg cramp, all right, sorry. Go
I don't
ahead.
know whether the county will release the monies, because it really is a discretionary decision of the county. I don't think that number is still 800, because I think the money that they granted us to upgrade the wastewater plant to serve Nottaway Commons came out of that 800. Now, there may have been more money put in after an annual allocation or something, but certainly make a request. First and foremost, we made a request to the county.
They meet Thursday night, so I do know this, if you want to go down that route, the county staff does have great relations with the tobacco people, and I'm even aware of some grants where they made a phone call and said, look, the application's coming, and the county got a few extra days to just let them know that it's coming. So the question is, do you wish to go that route? And if you do, we need to let the county know like tomorrow.
I'd like to make a motion that we pursue this.
to pursue the tobacco grant, which usually they come with no local match. Sometimes some do, some don't, but you don't have to accept anything either. All right.
Okay,
I got
so
a
this
que-
grant is for the armory?
This is for a tobacco commission grant that Frank Ruff and Tommy Wright have said the Army would be eligible for, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, and they serve on the tobacco commission, so they have a lot of clout. They both do.
I have a question.
All right.
Okay, we in council have said that in order to make this thing equal and to make everybody happy, that we would have a voting day. Better way, if you beat me, hey, it's nothing I can say because the voters voted. People voted.
Right.
Okay, but my opinion, that would be much better than what we're doing now. Because it seems like to me what we're doing now is we're shoving stuff down people's throats.
The unfortunate reality of the grant deadline does, I think what you're making a point, but also the point is, imagine looking the people in the eye if the voting day were to pass and say, well, we lost $800,000 we could have gotten, or
We can
$500,000.
apply next year too.
True.
I mean, the money's still there every year.
True, that's a fair point.
So if we were to apply and say things start working, how long do you have to, I mean,
To let them know.
yeah.
We can get, the county would know that like that. I don't know. I think it's like 60 days, 90 days, something like that.
Well, I heard from several people us not getting the last one, with it being free money.
That historic grant that was just out there
Yeah.
dangling.
I heard from several people,
I
why
am-
didn't y'all get that?
If you look at these pictures, it's great work that the committee has done, the Armory crew. And we need a building for community use, but guys, we need to do what we're planning to do first. Get the study, do our vote, and then let's do what the community says.
So you still want to do have a community voting day before Labor Day?
Yes.
Okay.
We must.
Because we've discussed that, but I've never really had a vote.
Why in the world would you all
Hold
want
on,
to
Mr. Mo-
vote?
Hold on, Mr. Osmond.
Recognize me, please.
Hold on. Point of order.
So that people.
Point of
can come
order.
up here
I'm going to
without being
recognize you in just a
ridiculed.
moment, I promise you. Walter Mack, please. All right.
The reason we need a community voting day is so that people can come up here and, or they go to the poll and support the Armory, that they don't want Mr. Miller to think, oh, he doesn't like me, so I'm not, or, I mean, I can tell you, I'd vote for the Armory. But we have to let everybody speak.
Okay.
It has been so toxic for 20 years.
Good 15. So we are tonight though. Let's just rehash. And I promise you, Walter Mack, I'm going to let you speak. I promise. We're going to let the Armory group possibly have wrestling,
I'm all for
an open house, and you're going to make a motion in a moment to pursue the business financing plan. Or that just passed,
We
actually.
passed it,
That
yeah.
passed. Do you want to go on record and vote on I mean, if you're going to have a community voting day before Labor Day, you better pick a date and it's 6 weeks away. How serious are you on
The big
that?
issue was trying to figure out when we will get the plan back first.
Right.
Because then obviously, then you have to form the yay or nay question, which is everybody's issue, is how do you form it?
Right.
Well, hopefully that this plan that we're gonna have, this finance plan, will help alleviate some of the issues with how do you formulate the poll, the ballot.
Okay. Do you want to, does council, this is a big question, I'm going to promise you, we'll get to Walter Mack. Does this council want to ask the county to apply for the tobacco commission grant or not? Because the deadline is July 24th or 25th, one of those days. 25th.
I've made the motion.
Okay, is there a second to Ms. Hasbrook's motion? The motion is on the floor.
Second.
Colonel Thomas, second that motion. Mr. Osborne, I'm going to recognize you, yes, I promised you.
Mayor, y'all had a comprehensive study. I understand that all the people in town were able to vote on, and all turned in ballots. But my understanding was 40 ballots turned in.
68.
68 ballots. I understand that Mr. Nash said he turned in 5 of those.
I don't remember the number, but
Okay,
there
so you had the whole town could decide on the whole town's future, and 68 people decided on it, and y'all have gone 15 years, gone through 4 or 5 councils, and y'all still want everybody after 15 years to still have a word. Okay, how much more words do you want them to have, okay?
That's
15
because-
more years, really? Y'all are all voted here to make the hard decisions. Mayor, that man here ran on a thing to have the Armory, he's still here. So it must not be so toxic, okay? But I know one thing, you can't have, what are you gonna do if 42 people show up and 42 of them say yes, or 42 of them say no? How about the other 3,000 people in town that didn't vote?
That's the risk, that's certainly the risk.
But then don't, that's the wrong risk. You're messing with the future.
And we hear you loud and clear, but we,
No, listen, no, you're not hearing me out. Let me say one more thing. He's talking about grants tonight. This council, not this council, but the council of this thing has turned down at least 5 chances at over $2 million of money for the armory in the last 4 years. Okay? That's money that the citizens of the town of Blackstone are gonna have to fork up instead of the citizens to fork up.
If the citizens want to be-
Exactly opposite of what we had always said we would want to do, Mayor, is not cost the town any money.
right.
Okay, and I had Ben Green turn me down for $180,000. We've had 2 tobacco grants turned down, and it's happened over and over and over. And we even had this one for the federal government at $750,000, no strings attached.
Right.
And what it's going to end up doing is costing every citizen town of Blackstone $400 instead of nothing.
Right. And you know where I stand with you and the Armor Group, but also you have to take Mr. Nash's point is, Mr. Nash and several others on this panel want to know, well, look, what is the armory gonna cost in maintenance costs, and what is a realistic income to offset that? So
You understand?
that's,
That's what the business plan is, but you can't let a person from any town in Blackstone that doesn't have a complete education of this project from top to bottom to make a decision. That's y'all's job.
But that's exactly where our issue lies, is because
right.
every person from top to bottom is gonna be paying for that armory.
Right, but
So
you
we
have to
must let
educate them,
everybody,
Larry. But you-
everybody,
but you
I
have
don't
to
care what
teach-
kind of education they have, Mac, we
No,
have to
You
know.
have to teach them at the vote that night.
Okay.
Hold on.
This is why it doesn't go
yeah,
through.
this is the example, Mr. Nash was gonna, I'm gonna finish the sentence. This is an example of why elected officials who run with their name on the ballot we get nervous about the army, because right here among friends, we've got tension.
Every one of us may be able to pay the tax levy if it's $10 a year or whatever.
Right.
But there's a lot of them out there that may not have the dime to pay.
You don't need a vote of the citizens to find that out.
Here's the good news.
Make very
Ms.
well.
Hasbrook's motion on the floor right now is not about voting day. Her motion that's been made and seconded by Mr. Colonel Tom is to ask the county to apply for the Tobacco Commission grant. The motion's in order. Ms. Jones has a question.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, it seems like we are putting what is it, the cart before the horse? So if we haven't decided what we're gonna do, should we go ahead and apply for the grant? Or just wait until we decide what we're gonna do, and then someone said we still got time to apply for it next year?
You can
or-
turn it down and be able, and not lose any brownie points. They could say, hey, dear manager Van Norbeck, y'all have got $800,000, and the council could say, no, we don't want to do it. Now, it's not always a wise move to turn down money you've been approved for, but you can. You can.
Stabilization grant is what it is for the roof and the windows to stabilize the building.
Good point. That needs to be pointed
You
out.
have to tell the Tobacco
It's still a
Commission
town
what your-
building that needs to
your
be
future
stabilized.
plan is and what your short-term plan is. The short-term plan is to try to fix the roof and fix the windows and get the environmental back in the building is plan 1. And then the next plan is getting the heating and air conditioning and the inside fixes plan 2. But to apply for this money, you've got to have an architect that's already ready to do it. We give y'all a number it costs to put the roof and thing on thing, and you tell the Tobacco grant, this is what we want to do 5 years from now, but right now we want to do this with the money.
Before I have the clerk poll the question, I do want to give, Mr. Nash has made some excellent points tonight, and I'm going to give Mr. Miller's point, we can disagree, but it's not illogical to say, look, before we go down that road, why not let the people vote? And I think I sent you, the people voted on fluoride in the water, they voted on dog confinement, and those are big issues with the council members voted, they passed a buck, and the people spoke on no fluoride in the water and countywide and townwide
How did they
dog.
vote, Billy?
I've got the article. You know what they
How did
did?
they vote? I'm asking you.
It was 5-1 against
So
Florida.
how did they? What was the process?
You know what the process was? I've got their articles. This blew my mind. I could not believe it. They did what I actually recommended and Eric did, not go through a precinct and pay the election workers. They had voting here in this building. But the thing they did that was kind of odd and not advisable now, if you owned a business, you were allowed to vote. Now, of course, nowadays, it's because we have so many businesses, it'd be hard to keep track of who was that person. But basically, if you lived in Blackstone, you brought an ID, and they also require this: you had to be 21 to vote. The voting age at the time was 18, but the council set the rules. And this council can set the rules too, because what you're doing is you're having a referendum without paying the county $10,000 to have a referendum, if that's what you wish to do. But I've got to get back. I'm a parliamentarian. Motion's been made and seconded on the floor to ask the county of Nottaway to apply for the grant, which, by the way, people are optimistic, but that may not be a slam dunk either. Okay, Walter Mack's done some discussions, but we'll see how that,
Test the water, we don't
Right.
know.
if there's no other discussion with council, I'm gonna have a roll call vote. Any other discussion? Roll call vote, starting with Ms. Jones. To ask the county to apply for the grant.
I'm just still undecided, because I'm like, there we go again, we putting the cart before the horse. I'm just,
Okay.
Just-
If you wish to abstain, you can.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
all right,
yeah.
all right.
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain?
Nay.
Aye.
I need to really, we have two abstentions. You voted yes, yes.
Nay.
You voted yes.
Yes, let's get it. I
The
mean,
motion carries 3-1. Who all voted yes on the motion? 1, 2, 3, 4. Motion carries 4-1 with two abstentions. All right? We will have to notify Nottaway County as soon as possible this week and ask them to consider applying.
We're available if you need anything from our architect or any of us, any information.
So right now, we want to vote to apply.
We're voting to ask the county to apply because the county of Nottaway has a ladies and gentlemen's agreement. Because years ago, the mayor of Burkeville went off and applied and grabbed tobacco money to move the Burkeville train station across the road, and the county had no allocation left. That's a true story. And Ray George, listen, I admire Ray George. I give him credit. He took the bull by the horns.
So if we get approved, we vote to accept it.
That is correct. The county would have to agree to apply, and then
When,
we'll have
when
that
is notice date? When, I mean,
using like in the fall. They have like it sort of runs like the CDBG grants where you apply, and a few months later they let you know. Okay.
Did y'all vote for that study too? Did y'all decide to do that?
Yeah, the study passed. That was unanimous. The only votes that were split tonight in the Army was the wrestling and the vote you just witnessed. Miss Kathy, yes.
I'd like to ask, when the money was approved to renovate Rigglesworth, was there a vote for that?
You mean like a referendum? No, it was a council decision. I think I'm right, or I must have.
But you also didn't
I would
have
like to
two
know what
sectors
makes
of
this-
town.
What makes the decision to move forward on the armory different from spending all taxpayer money on Rigglesworth? I'm not complaining about Rigglesworth, I'm just talking about the process.
Right.
Just have a question about
I'll give my honest opinion,
Yeah.
and because that's what we're up here for. But I can tell you what my opinion is because of the race issue. I mean, we know it, and that's the sad part. I know, but it's that. That's why.
There was no one screaming. Not a single citizen came here and said, "Tell me, y'all build these ball fields. We're gonna be mad at you." It was never.
That is exactly
The ball
why.
fields are very unified, even though we spent a lot of money, and it's a facility we're all proud of. But there's difference. There's two issues handled very differently.
Eric, why is it?
Ask your citizens.
Now, when you say race, I mean, because my thing is
So
just,
listen, Miss Jones has the floor. Miss Jones has the floor.
you know, it's just all about what the citizens want, because I
And I
haven't
agree.
just heard.
That's why we want to hear what they
just-
say.
Just black people saying that they
No.
don't want it. I done heard
It
both.
is. Oh, it's
So,
everything.
You know,
But
It is all
mean,
sides.
I've had people in my neighborhood say
yeah.
against it.
Yeah.
I don't
yeah.
want to stop.
I wrote a letter to this town council in 1996 because there's people against us building a new fire station. There was lots of people against us supposedly building a new fire station. All I had to do is take every word from all those files and put the word armory in it. It's the exact same thing. Identical. There was some people didn't want us to build a fire station. Can y'all even imagine that today? No, you can't.
Ms. Jones?
Some people.
But
Ms.
Some
Jones,
people.
can I ask Ms. Jones a question?
you may.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there, has anybody given you a concrete reason? I'm not trying to,
No.
I'm not trying to stir anything up.
Mainly-
I honestly want to know.
They just want to know who want to be paying for it. I mean, they thinking their tax money is gonna have to be paying. I mean,
But
with
no
a few amount of
question-
her.
No question about
get you.
how the building would be used eventually?
Yeah, y'all heard that a little too.
I'm sorry, I just can't get.
Well, I mean, Mr. Nash, I mean, I'm gonna let Mr. Miller speak. Mr. Nash, I mean, let's just face it. We had several occasions for several years, a citizen and a few citizens come and really beat the podium against the Armory. And one citizen in particular, he's not here tonight, but I tell him, he was made it very clear, the exact words were, the African-American community does not want the Armory renovated. We were not allowed to go in there at some point in time, and that's just fact. That's in the
No, it's not fact, that's all a lie, Billy. You can't say that.
Mac, I'm telling you what the council was told. I'm not saying it was historically accurate.
Okay, but
But
don't repeat lies.
I'm just trying to give the context, Mr. Osborne, as what this council's heard, okay? We're gonna move on. With the only other item left to discuss, I guess, if we wanna venture with it, is voting day. It's July, it's mid-July tonight. Labor Day is 6 weeks away.
Are we waiting for the voting day after we get the business plan?
I think you
Yeah, you
need to
gotta
tell
have the
folks,
business plan.
Okay, we're gonna wait to find out, is that common consent, get the business plan?
Yeah, you must have
Okay.
the business plan.
Yeah,
That's the only reason.
But
we're
one
doing
thing we
the
have,
business plan.
let me just tell you this, Mr. Osborne, Armory people, you know what I believe my goal for that building is, but as mayor, I'm a moderator. And you can't sit there and scream at me and say, don't repeat a lie, I'm repeating an opinion. Mr. Lewis Johnson has a strong opinion,
You keep talking about one person though again, Billy.
but we see opinions, Walter Mack, through our prism, through our life experiences, and we have to remember everybody in this community has had different life experiences. We've gotta remember that. We can't be held captive by it, but we've gotta respect each other. We've got to.
All we're trying to do is say.
Y'all are doing wonderful stuff over there, man. It's amazing what you've done. But we want this to be a celebration, if this is gonna come to be, not something that's gonna cause wounds.
And if it's done correctly and with everybody willing, maybe it's something that can bring everybody together.
Amen, brother.
Right, that's the main thing.
Because we're in one community. We're all in one community.
Amen. That may have been the best thing I've heard in a long time.
Let us work with going through the process.
Open house, we'd like to have the whole town, and we'd like to have Code Red used to bring everybody over to visit the Armory.
We will beat the bushes and get the word out. Absolutely.
Again, let me just say one more thing. This is the town council's building to run in the future. We're just here to raise money and support it. It's up to U7, the town manager, and the citizen town of Blackstone to develop these plans for this armory in the future. We need a community center, folks. What we need is community center. The armory can do that for $1.5 million cheaper and last longer than anything on the post.
Y'all have done a
All we
favor.
gotta do is decide as a group to work together as a team, black and white, rich and poor in this town. I have absolutely no issues at all working with anybody. I want everybody to use this building. I want it affordable. You're the one that wants to raise the prices, Mayor, but I want it affordable just like a ticket.
Wait,
Everybody be able
I don't want to get it back and forth, but I know what you're talking about, the prices. I'm just realistic.
Right, I'm just trying to tell you, I'm trying to be grassroots, and I'm not trying to price this like, I want the East End to use it. I grew up in the East End, gosh, I delivered newspapers to the East
Right.
End when I was a kid.
We've got to move along. We thank you. You've done a people of Blackstone a huge favor by fixing the bathrooms of a town building. And way more than that.
You have the nicest municipal restrooms in the town of Blackstone.
Amen. And we're gonna, maybe on August 21st, we'll see them up close and personal. All right, moving along with our agenda to ongoing projects. We've done the other items under unfinished.
Number 4 on
Before and
802 and 812 Fall Street, we've got a court order to remove debris from these two properties.
Betsie's here and stuck with us tonight. She and I went to court, and Judge Stark did give us an order to remove debris from the yards of 802 and 812 Fall Street. Those are two properties that have been chronic issues over the years. I'll have the chief go speak with the property owners. Last time we cleaned it, he volunteered from that, which was pretty acrimonious.
I remember that.
They're out of there, more than acrimonious, so I would expect this to be town forces, using backhoe and loader and just clean up.
And there'll be no pay involved here, will it? Just be,
My intention is to put
A lien?
bill them, but they already owe us from the last times and haven't paid that.
so have to do a lien basically, or? Okay.
$700 lien on the property, and that hasn't been paid.
This is just informational, but this would be the second time for these properties, right?
Third time it's been-
Third time since
No
you've
way
been
to
here.
stop it.
Where is this?
Just moving stuff,
Straight just down from Barber.
she needs, the girl needs help.
And the curb.
I mean, just moving is not gonna do any good. She needs treatment. Just moving, is just gonna put it back. She has a problem.
Yeah.
She likes to hold it.
That's probably an accurate word, yeah.
Yeah.
Needs
To
treatment.
address one remark that Eric made, there is in this court order Specifically written out at the bottom, it does say, it is also ordered that defendants shall allow no further nuisances to exist on the property.
So how do you enforce that?
He would
By the time
have,
she gets,
yeah, he'd have to take them back to court, it'd be a show cause.
but it doesn't have to be as big of a nuisance, from what it sounds like.
Correct, it would just have to be.
A recurring.
So heads up, it'd probably be acrimonious again, but we'll give them a couple days' notice, and I'll set up with Dan, dump trucks and such things. And
Yeah.
Say
We
it.
get to
They
decide
didn't say it though.
what's debris.
She has a certain amount of days to. and
So
Who's to
anything that's
decide?
there,
I guess I'll have to be like we
dispose of it.
did last time. I have to be the arbiter of, if it's outside, it's debris, and you
I don't
need to
like
put it
Philip being
inside.
that one,
And
though.
I feel bad for it because of all the things going on in this town and the big projects we've got, and you're just gonna be bogged down for hours and days on this.
it's a disgrace, but it's the third time we've dealt with it, and it just doesn't get better. And,
So-
I
and she's
think it's
never paid?
generational too.
She's never paid.
No, she's not gonna, it's not.
We had a Baptist church volunteer last time, and we did a good job cleaning it up.
Sure
Delivered
did.
the firewood, brought our food, took all the metal down to, and it was still
Cambridge.
acrimonious. The daughters weren't very cordial.
All right, that's information for y'all. Any concerns? I think there were some good ones, but I think we just have to see what we can do.
When did you do this? When is the date?
I'm gonna sit down with Chief when he gets back from vacation. We can go anytime after the 10th of July. We were entitled to go. I didn't wanna do it until I gave you guys heads up, because you're
smart.
probably the ones getting the phone
Yep.
call.
All right, new, meals tax, only had one person outstanding. Take care, be
All
careful.
right, thank you.
Watch out for the bears, they're out this time of year, everywhere. There's one outstanding meals tax as of now, is that right?
Yes, and they had not paid today.
Okay,
What
okay.
is our,
If they haven't paid, they have, till you send them a letter and then we proceed with court. That's what the protocol is, since the 2010 episode.
I was about to say, I wanna make sure we're above par and stay the same course. When is letter being sent? When is,
And it's the same business every month that keeps doing this.
Okay,
It's the same,
And they usually come in the day of the council meeting, but they didn't come in today.
okay.
is a letter gonna be devised first thing tomorrow and
we'll check to see what the protocol is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll send them a letter, and I usually go over and knock on the door to them and have a chat. I think they're not here as often as they used to be. A little hard to get a hold of, but.
Well, I think we all know, but we're